Hello friends, welcome back to Cloud Pedagogy. In today's session, it is time to put all our elastic load balancing knowledge into practice. So in this exercise, you'll first launch an extra EC2 instance and then create an application load balancer. So what are we waiting for? Let's start with the task. In the task 1, we will launch another EC2 instance in different availability zone. In task 2, we will create the target groups. In task 3, we will create the load balancer. In the task 4, we will test the load balancer whether the EC2 applications are working fine with the traffic or not. Begin with the task 1. Launch another EC2 instance in different availability zone. In this task, you will launch an EC2 instance that hosts the application in different availability zone. I am already in the EC2 console page where my existing student directory application is running. First, let me check my existing application is working fine or not. Perfect. My application is showing my home page. So come back and select the checkbox next to the student directory application instance. Choose Actions and then choose Image and Templates. Click on Launch More like this. Enter the name, for the key pair, select the key pair that was created for this application. Change the network settings if required. Enable the auto-assign public IP address. Select the security group. In the advanced section, select the IAM role. Recheck your user script data and choose Launch Instance. Click on View All Instances. The instance should now be in the Instances list. Wait for the instance state to change to running and the status checks to obviously 2x2 checks passed. Select the checkbox for the next newly created EC2 instance. Copy the public IP address and paste it into a new browser window. Remember, I am running my application in port 8081. So I always keep changing it accordingly when the port number is defined in other AWS services. If you are running in 80, you don't have to do this since 80 port is defined by default in AWS console settings. Good job, you have successfully created the EC2 instance. In the next task, we will create the target group. Here is where we create a target group for our backend instances. Target group route requests to individual register targets such as EC2 instances, Lambda, etc. using the protocol and port number that you specify. On the navigation pane, under load balancing, choose target groups and click on Create Target Group. For target type, I will select EC2 instances. For target group name, type a name for the target group. We will give it a name such as CP Student Target Group. By default, a load balancer route requests to its targets using the protocol and port number that you specified when you create the target group. Alternatively, you can override the port used for route traffic to a target when you register it with the target group. Here I am running my app in 8081, so let's modify the default value to 8081. For VPC, select a VPC. Note that for IP addresses target types, the VPCs available for sections are those that supports the IP address type and you choose in the previous step. Expand advanced health check settings and configure the details. For healthy threshold, put 2, unhealthy threshold 5, timeout 30 and interval 40. We'll go ahead and leave all the defaults as it is and click next. This is where we will be choosing which instances we want to live in the target group. You can add or remove targets from your target groups at any time. So I'll go ahead and choose 2 instances I have here. Update the port if required and then choose include as pending below. Click on create target group. It's time to see the target group instance's status to become healthy. If the status of an instance is initial, it's typically because the instance is still in the progress of being registered. This status can also indicate that the instance has not passed the minimum number of health checks to be considered healthy. So be patient until they turn to the status healthy. Good job, you have created the target groups as well. In the task 3, we will create the load balancer. As we have already discussed, a load balancer takes requests from clients and distributes them across targets in a target group. Let's create an application load balancer in the console. If you want to find the ELB service, you will need to go to the EC2 console and then on the side panel, we will go ahead and select the load balancers. Once we bring up our load balancers dashboard that shows all of the load balancers for this region, we will click create load balancer. Here is where we choose which type of ELB we want. And you can see the 3 main types. We will be using ALB, means application load balancer. From here, we will choose a name and call it CP Student ELB. The next setting asks if we want an internet facing or an internal async load balancer. An internet facing load balancer does what you might expect, which is route requests from clients over private IP to targets with private IP. For example, if you had a 3-tier application with a web and database tier, you could use an internal facing load balancer to route traffic from your web tier to application tier. For this app, we will be routing internet traffic, so you can leave it as internet facing. After that, we choose which availability zones we want to route traffic to. First, we will choose the VPC. Then we will select both availability zones and then we will choose the 2 public subnets. Now you choose your security group for your load balancer. This is where you decide which traffic you want to allow in. Then we select the listener. Currently, the default setting is to allow HTTP traffic on port 8081 for my application. If you wanted to allow or limit to HTTPS traffic, we can click add listener, choose HTTPS and we will be good to go. In normal scenarios, we will stick with the defaults and my application is running in port 8081. I have to change it to 8081. Select the target in the target group name which you have created. Then we will go ahead and select create load balancer. Wait for the status to change active. After the status of at least one instance is healthy in the target group, you can test your load balancer. Well done, you have finished creating the load balancer as well. In the final task, we will test the load balancer. After the load balancer has been created, select the newly created load balancer. Find the DNS name in the details page below. We can then pull the DNS name, copy it and paste it into a new tab. If everything is configured correctly, the browser displays the default page of Student Directory application. If I go to the /info page of our application, you can see which availability zone we are currently in. If I refresh the page a few times, you should see eventually that I am being redirected to both my EC2 instances in both availability zones. Means that the load balancer is redirecting the traffic to the application instance with the data that I have added. And that's there you have it. Congratulations, you have successfully implemented your application load balancer in Student Directory application. Thanks for watching. Meet you again in my next video. Until then, take care.